Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world, one book at a time.
So today we're diving into a real classic, Ernest Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms. Now, you might know it as this epic, tragic love story, right? But what we're going to do is look at it through a different lens. We're going to see it as this incredible tool for understanding a very specific and very modern kind of system, the actual machinery of industrial warfare.
And that really gets us to the big question we're tackling here. How does something like modern war take, actual human beings, living, breathing people, and just turn them into replaceable parts in some giant, unfeeling machine? Because Hemingway's book, it's not just a story, it's an incredible, almost chilling case study of how that process actually works.
Okay, so let's get right into the central idea. The book shows us World War I not as this big story with heroes and villains, but as something else entirely, a self-perpetuating machine. Think about that. It's a system that just runs on its own cold, impersonal logic, and it's completely disconnected from any kind of human meaning or purpose.
And this system, it's just profoundly indifferent to human life. I mean, it literally doesn't care. It's a process that just strips away any sense of personal responsibility, any moral clarity. The characters in the book, they're not making these big, heroic choices that change the war. Nope, they're just there, forced to soak up the awful consequences of a machine that they have zero control over.
And you can really see the total disconnect here. On the one hand, you've got the official story, the language of the war machine. It's all about bulletins of victory and successful attacks. But then you have the reality for the soldiers on the ground. And what's that? It's endless rain and mud. It's cholera killing 7,000 men. It's supply lines completely collapsing. It's so different, it's like they're not even talking about the same war.
So when you're up against a system that massive and that uncaring, how do you even survive? Well, the book suggests something interesting. You don't try to fight the machine head on. Instead, you try to build these little pockets of meaning for yourself, what the book calls a separate peace. And for our main characters, Frederick and Catherine, that refuge, well, it's their love for each other.
I just listened to Catherine's words here because they are so telling. She says there's only us two, and in the world, there's all the rest of them. If anything comes between us, we're gone, and then they have us. See, their relationship isn't just a romance. It's a shield. It's a deliberate defense. That she's talking about, it isn't just other people. It's the war itself. It's that huge, impersonal system that will absolutely crush them if it gets a chance. So their love is like this fragile bubble, a shelter, for sure, but definitely not an escape. So this desperate need to create a private world, it brings us to another huge piece of the puzzle, the language the system uses to keep itself going. Hemingway is a master at showing how the big, important words used to justify the war just completely crumble when you compare them to what's actually happening.
I mean, this passage right here is one of the most famous in all of modern literature, and for really good reason. Our narrator, Frederick, he says he was always embarrassed by the words sacred, glorious, and sacrifice. He says abstract words like glory, honor, courage, they were just obscene next to the real, concrete things, like the names of villages and the numbers of roads. Think about that. The big words have become disgusting, meaningless. The only things left with any dignity are the simple, tangible facts. It's the system's propaganda just completely breaking down.
And this leads to a massive turning point. During this incredibly chaotic retreat, the system just turns on itself. The military police start executing their own officers for, the crime of getting separated from their troops during the chaos. It's insane. And at that moment, when Frederick Henry decides to desert, to just walk away, the book makes it clear this isn't about cowardice. It's the only sane, rational thing to do when the system has become that lethally absurd. All right, so if we pull all these threads together, what does this whole system actually look like? The book gives us this one really powerful metaphor that sums it all up perfectly. It's like a giant, automated conveyor belt of loss. Let's just break that down for a second. First, the input. What goes onto the belt? Well, you've got soldiers, supplies, and all those big ideas like patriotism and glory. Then, the process. That's the bureaucratic chaos, the mechanical violence, the total emotional detachment of the war. It just grinds everything down. And finally, the output. So what comes out the other end? Is it victory? Freedom? Not at all. The only things this machine consistently produces are death, disillusionment, and people desperately trying to find their own separate peace. That's its only real function. And so, in the end, A Farewell to Arms leaves us with this really big, provocative idea that goes way beyond just World War I. It makes you ask, right? What happens when any big system, an army, a company, even a government, loses its connection to any real human purpose? The book gives us a pretty stark answer. When a system is just running for its own sake, maybe the most logical and maybe even the most human thing you can do is find the courage to just walk away. For the full long-form deep dive into this book and its ideas, follow the link in the description. If you enjoy these explainers, please subscribe and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.